The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the David Pakman Show. We are live on Christmas Eve. I am wearing what is ostensibly some kind of Christmas sweater, even though, of course, I'm Jewish, and I guess we're celebrating philosophy, right, Lewis? It is the philosophy of Christianity being celebrated tonight at churches and tomorrow, if you believe Bill O'Reilly, and I'm sure there will be plenty of other philosophical holidays coming up, too.
Yes. Shall we have a philosophical discussion about Christianity?
I can't even tell, honestly, if me wearing this sweater is satire or not. Like, it's such nuanced satire that even I can't identify it myself. Like, I'm not sure if it's for real or not. I put on a red sweater.
I think that means it is.
Did you consider what you were doing at all when you put that on this morning?
Yeah.
You were aware of the connection?
Yeah.
Maybe subconsciously you have a yearning to celebrate the holiday.
The philosophy of Christianity, apparently.
Perhaps.
We had this NRA press conference. President Wayne LaPierre called for armed police officers at every school, took no responsibility at all for the tragedy at Newtown and all of the other mass shootings that have been happening and all of the other ones that have been committed by heavily and often legally armed gunmen. He blamed video games, movies, and music videos for exposing children to violent culture day in and day out. I take really particular issue with this. This has been so debunked, and I encourage people to go back in our archives and look up the interview with Professor Michael Morgan, who has studied violence in media extensively, and there is not actually a connection between people doing violent things and violent media and video games. However, there is a connection between people seeing those things and simply being more afraid and believing that the world around them is far more dangerous. Even just that, Wayne LaPierre not even able to avoid getting into that fallacy.
Right, and you don't need to look into studies. You don't need to be a genius to figure this out. I mean, just look at history and look at violent incidents and serial killers and these people in the past that had no exposure to anything of the sort.
Of course.
Why did they do it? Remember,
there is one motive from the NRA here. We can't. This is the key thing. I don't know how I can explain this to you better. The NRA's press conference and everything they did after the Sandy Hook school shooting was to prevent the reduction in gun sales and ideally stimulate an increase in gun sales, because this is a gun lobby. On the board of the NRA are executives from firearms companies, okay? This is the Chamber of Commerce for gun companies. We need to forget about anything else. Are they being responsible? Are they not being responsible? They have one goal: sell more guns. They get money from the gun companies. The gun companies get money from selling guns. The connection is very, very clear.
And they succeeded.
And they did succeed, because we'll talk about on our next show that there has been an explosion, and maybe that's the wrong word to use. There has been a precipitous increase in the number of these high-capacity magazines that are being purchased now, people essentially stocking up. Now, though I don't even want to play any of the video from the press conference because it's nonsense. You know what it is. I know what it is. It's total garbage. There was one moment where a Code Pink protester got in and did a silent protest. Now, at the end of this, they started yelling, and I think the protest would have been far more effective if they didn't yell at any point. Wayne LaPierre just kind of tries to go on, then he stops. Security guard gets involved, and then we hear the yelling. Take a look.
Monsters and the predators of the world know it.
So there it is, the big pink sign.
And exploit it.
NRA killing our kids, codepink.org.
That
Wayne LaPierre
must
for now going
change
on, for
now.
now continuing.
The truth is,
now he's completely covered by the sign. You can see the Code Pink protesters' hand really shivering. I mean, they're probably pretty nervous about doing this. Here comes a security guard.
It's the NRA and the assault weapons that are killing our children, not armed teachers.
Okay, so I actually think the protest would have been more effective if they did not do that. In other words, if they were completely silent, they hold the sign, Wayne LaPierre stops, and then they get taken out. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Natan?
Yeah, I agree, because if it's reported, that's the thing. If the only way to get this story reported is by then saying something at the end of it, then maybe it is better. If it's reported and a silent reporting of it actually occurs, then maybe that's better.
Wayne LaPierre also called for a national mental health database, completely insensitive. It vilifies millions of Americans, the vast majority of whom will never be violent. The solution, it's just the idea that putting children with armed teachers basically in a shootout between the good guys and the bad guys, that's the way to protect kids. That's completely absurd. We should be talking about ways to prevent the first shots from even being fired. But this mental health database, it's incredible. We don't do full screening and background checks with waiting periods for gun sales, and we don't maintain a full database of these sales. There's these loopholes at gun shows and for private sales and purchases. But now we have a database which includes people getting Ativan from doctors because they get nervous when they fly. That's the solution to the gun problem.
Right. And what about the children of these people, right? I mean, there are no tests that are going to be done on them, right?
Right.
Who knows if they've ever seen a doctor in their lives.
Right. And again, the idea that armed people when these shootings happen is a solution. Columbine High School had an armed deputy named Neil Gardner. He retreated when that shooting started. Virginia Tech had their own police department. Fort Hood, it was a military base with everything from military police to armed military. So what evidence do we have that having one armed person in the schools is the solution here? I don't believe it. Or that having the teachers be armed is the solution.
That evidence doesn't exist. There's no nuance. There's no detail in any of these. Yeah.
Well, you know what they pointed to?
What?
They've been pointing to Israel. And now Israel has come out and said the NRA is vastly distorting all of these stories. Yigal Palmore, who's a spokesman for the Israeli Foreign Ministry, told the New York Daily News, the NRA President Wayne LaPierre is lying when he said that our country has had a lot of school shootings, and he's lying when he said that we've put armed security in every school. We didn't have a series of school shootings. They had nothing to do with the issue in the United States. And what removed the danger was not armed guards, but an anti-terror policy, which brought down street terrorism to almost zero. So no surprise that the NRA is trying to distort the facts in Israel.
Like you said, all that matters is profit. It's all about gun sales.